Thank you so much for coming to Manatee Tiger Bay today. We appreciate you coming out to this great panel. First of all, I would like to recognize our dignitaries in the audience. We have Bradenton City Council member Mary Ann Barnaby, Ward 2. Please give her a round of applause. We have Bradenton City Council member Josh Kramer, Ward 3. Please give him a round of applause. And we have the famous Mr. Mike Bennett, Manatee County Supervisor of Elections. Thank you all so much for being here today. Kevin Wright, would you please come up and do the pledge for us, please?
Thank you. If you please join me in doing honors to our colors. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, do we have any veterans that are in the audience? Would you please stand and be recognized? We thank you so much for your service. Thank you so much for your service. Please make sure that your cell phones are silenced. Let me check mine too, because I have a habit. So today we're going to talk about, we feel, the Tiger Bay Board, that this is a very, very important discussion. The future of politics, hearing from the 40 and under voters. Our first speaker is Grace Reeves, attorney at law, Cesar Garcia, president of Bold Voter Inc., Marcus Davenport, right-wing progressive, and Nathan Knight, president of the Manatee County Republicans, and Evelyn Amador, Evelyn A. I almost had it. I had it in my head. President of the Democratic Party of Manatee County. Our first speaker is going to be Nathan Knight, president of the Manatee County Republicans. Please give him a round of applause as he comes forward.
Thank you, Xavier, for having me. Thank you, the board. This is an honor and privilege to be here. Just want to thank everyone. The issues facing Manatee County aren't Republican or Democrat. They're facing all of us. And I just want to be here to support, to bring people together, to solve issues facing our county in the days and years ahead. I've been involved in politics. The first campaign I worked for was Representative Catherine Harris. I started with her, volunteered with then Governor Scott, helped out with Congressman Buchanan, helped out with Congressman Webster's campaign. I was on the host committee with Governor Ron DeSantis. I just love helping, campaigning. I love going door to door, just meeting with the voters. My average, I like to hit 100 voters a day going door to door. I just love talking to the voters, seeing what the issues that are facing them, and what we can do to help better build and grow our community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nathan. I appreciate that very much. Next, we'll have Grace Reeves, attorney at law.
Hi, everyone. My name is Grace Reeves. I'm an attorney in the community. I've been in Manatee County on and off since 2006, fully since 2015. I actually used to be the president of the Manatee County Young Republicans. I also was involved with the local Republican Party as well as helping with campaigns. I'm actually, since 2021, a non-party affiliated voter, and so I've been asked to be on the panel kind of as an NPA. So, since the topic of today's talk was voters under 40, I thought it would be interesting to kind of explain who those voters are. Millennials are 1981 to 1996, so that's anywhere between 27 and 42. Gen Z are born after 1996. They're defined as 1997 to 2012, so 18 to 26. I'm curious, are there any Gen Zs in here? Two. So, which is good. We appreciate that. So, I'm sure we'll get to it on the panel as to why I think more people are moving to NPA or independent, not being affiliated with either party. But thank you for having me on this panel and look forward to your questions. Thanks.
You guys are doing so good. I don't even have my timer on today, but I'm going to get it though. I'm going to get it. Next, we have the president of Bold Voter Inc., Cesar C.J. Garcia. Please welcome him as he comes to the stage. Thank you so much.
All right. Good morning, afternoon. It's something. Um, I'm CJ or Caesar or whatever. I've been called a lot worse. I'm a born and raised Manatee County native. I only went off for college for a few years, came back. And a lot of that was because my dad taught me since I was young, you got to take care of your house first. And that always meant to me, my siblings, I'm the oldest of four, my mom, my dad, as they get older, I am my brother's keeper and I am the keeper of my parents as well. But as I became more civically engaged, I have done everything from a little bit of lobbying in Tallahassee with some people from South Florida who swindled me into that horrible job, and to local community engagement. I lived in St. Pete for a little bit, and I realized that I was doing stuff up there that we needed down here too. And as much as I love that community, it just didn't sit well with me, so I decided to move back and do something here. As with anything politics, there's good, there's bad, there's ugly. And some people will hate you, some people will love you. And that's kind of how it goes, but I kind of wish it wasn't. The idea of politics has been tarnished, I think, over time, and what that means and the foundation and principles of our country. The great American experiment only works because we're engaged. The great American experiment works because we are here today with the understanding that we're going to disagree on some things and we're going to agree on others, but we know that we can walk out of here and we're going to be fine. Nobody's going to lock us up because we have different political beliefs than the people in power. Nobody's going to, shoot us or kill us or kidnap our children, much like our people in South and Central America. The reason that the Great American Experiment works is because we have a population that is okay with diverse ideas and differences that can come together. And the pendulum shifts. Sometimes Republicans are in power, sometimes Democrats are in power, very rarely a third party's in power, but it does happen. And the idea is for us, as we the people, us the citizens, to do something about it. If we don't like it, we have the power of the polls. If we like it, we keep them there. And I think that's really the reason why we're here today. The future of politics is not in this room, it's out there. It's in a classroom right now, taking a fast test that's happening right now. It's in, it's in the people that maybe are houseless right now. They can vote too. It's in the veterans in the community in our armed forces. It's in our immigrant population that works hard every day. It's in our homes. It's in our children, grandchildren. I have three of my own. The future of politics is something that's already affecting us because something that happened 10, 20, 30 years ago is affecting us today. Their future is here. So what we do today will affect the outcome of tomorrow. And we have to be conscious of that, whether it's our environment, whether it's our children, our education system, whatever that may be, we have to be considerate that, yes, it might affect us, but it's going to affect the future. So I'm looking forward to a lively debate. Bold Voter, we work with anyone. I personally have supported both Republican, Democrats, Independents because I believe politics is local. I believe, yes, that your ideology matters, but it's more about whether or not you can do what you say you're going to do, whether you're qualified to do what you say you're going to do, and whether or not you're actually going to follow through with it. And I know sometimes local politicians get a bad rap because sometimes they deserve it. But our job is to hold them accountable. And that's why we're here, and we're here to learn. And I'm looking forward to the rest of my panel and everybody here and the questions. And feel free to reach out. I love a spirited debate anytime. Thank you for having us, Xtavia, and the entire board of Tiger Bay and the committees. And we'll see what happens. I'm CJ.
Thank you so much, CJ. I do want to recognize County Commissioner at Large George Cruz snuck in. I didn't see him. How you doing? Please give him a round of applause. Next, we'll have Marcus Davenport, right wing progressive.
Hello? All right. Hey, can everybody hear me okay? Awesome. Hey, thanks for everybody for coming out. I appreciate the spirit of democracy and everybody wanting to hear both sides. I call myself a right-wing progressive because I'm consistently right-wing on every issue. So I want to give you the opportunity to no longer compromise or move to the middle. There's a lot of information that's coming out whether Trump called, white nationalists good people, or if CRT is not being taught in the schoolroom, or what is this whole climate change debate. What I'm here to tell you is that you're being lied to. And so I want to show you the objectively correct positions on every single issue. And it doesn't matter where we go tonight. I would love to dig in deep. Whatever it is that you have, definitely ask questions later on. Any issue, doesn't matter what the topic is, you're going to find out that the left is lying. Let's go.
We've already started the debate. Had to get something to drink. I knew that was coming. Next, we have Evelyn Amador Devar, President, Democratic Party, Manatee County. Please give her a round of applause.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Xtavia. I am such a fan of Tiger Bay, and I was so excited that you're doing this, so thank you for the invitation. So I prepared to talk a little bit about millennials and Gen Z since we are talking about the future in politics. And so doing my work in the community as a president of the Democratic Party, what I am understanding is that millennials and Gen Zs, not just Democrats, but also Republicans, are frustrated. We're frustrated because there's a lot of distraction from the important issues that are affecting us. We have somehow gotten caught up in these culture wars, and right now, millennials and Gen Zs cannot afford home ownership. In Manatee County alone, the average price of a house is $460,000, and the average income for millennials is $60,000. So what I'm getting is a lot of frustration from both sides. Just we are getting caught up in all these political rhetorics, and we're not doing the work that needs to be done for that generation. And if you think about the issues that Gen Z and millennials care about, they're very simple and they're very practical. Again, we talked about home ownership's rent, the fact that people are moving in back to with their parents when they have kids because they can't afford rent. But the issues are not just local, there's national too. Millennials and Gen Z leave college with an average of $40,000 in debt. And that is for a four-year degree that is not gonna get you in senior management. The other issue is environment, and that is very local to us too. You see Miami, the floods are up 400% since 2006. And the environment is not just an ideological thing, it's an economic thing, and it's also a quality of life thing. So there's a lot of issues that we are interested in seeing addressed. We're not interested in whether or not we're gonna ban pride parades. We're not interested in calling teachers names. We're really just interested in solving these issues, and that's both sides. But what I am seeing is that this frustration is driving a group of youth that are in leadership and that they're advocating for themselves. And I've gotten to know them. I've been in Tallahassee with them. I've been here locally, and it's really inspiring. So I'm very hopeful about this generation coming up, whether they're Republicans or whether they're Democrats, because they are interested in solving these issues. I've seen them build coalitions from both parties to help legalize recreational marijuana, to help advocate for the right to clean water. I see it, they're doing it, so I'm very hopeful about the future of politics. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're going to begin with a couple questions. We have questions that have been submitted by our members, so I'll start with those questions. But I also wanted to, we talk about the last election, and as I was doing some research, um, they said that the Gen Z was actually what kept the state of Florida. They actually held the state of Florida. So you have to think about the kids that, I say kids, but the under 40 and how they're voting, if the Gen Z was the ones that were able to keep the actual state of Florida red, because I think it's the Gen Alpha next, or it's a lot of them. So Gen Alpha is next, and they're saying that the Gen Alphas are more likely to vote in Democratic views. So it's going to be very interesting as the future. And we will talk in between questions because they give ideas on what Republicans should focus on for the vote, but they're also what the Democratic Party should be focusing on if either party wants to continue and have leadership in office. So our first question is, do you believe in the Constitution, and what does it mean to you? Nathan.
Yes, we believe in the Constitution. We believe the Constitution is a living, breathing document that we should treat very seriously. It's a very serious issue if anything happens to it.
You can pull off the microphones and pass them down too. You don't, if you want to, you can pull it off.
Okay. Just one at a time, or?
Yeah, you're next.
Okay. So I believe the Constitution was created to protect us and our natural rights from the government and to keep the government limited. That is the difference between the right wing and the left wing. The left wing believes in legal positivism, which is they believe that the government gives you your rights. Whereas on the right, we believe there's one of two ways. Either you're born with your rights because of your humanity, or God gave you your rights. It doesn't matter whether you believe in God or not, but that is the difference between left and right, which is why the left believes that they can vote away your freedoms. It doesn't matter what the issue is. They can make you less than a human. They can vote away your right to protect yourself. They don't understand why we have the Constitution. So I will disagree with my friend here. I don't believe that the Constitution was meant to be a living, breathing document. You know, if you were playing any sport and you had living, breathing rules, you know, if everybody can change the rules as they go, no, it was, the government was intended to be set up where it was very difficult to change rules. The whole point of this entire experiment is to protect your individual rights. You were born with these rights, and nobody has the right to take them away from you. But if you want to get into the Second Amendment debate, and we can talk about the data, you'll find out that, again, the left is wrong.
Next.
As a lawyer, we take an oath when we get admitted into the bar to uphold and protect the Constitution. So what does that mean? The Constitution is the Constitution. There's interpretations of the Constitution that could be different, whether you look Republican, Democrat, whether you have a judge rule on whether something is constitutional, whether something violates the Constitution. There is a process to add, take away from the Constitution. It's the amendment process. And I think the amendment process is a great avenue to help change how maybe some interpret the Constitution as well. So, I mean, the Constitution and the amendments to the Constitution, they do play a role in everyday's life. Right now, you see the debate between DeSantis and Disney. What's the topic? First Amendment. You see the debate here in Manatee County regarding making Manatee County a sanctuary city. That's the Second Amendment. Recently, you had a change in tort legislation. That affects the Seventh Amendment, the right to a jury trial. So the Constitution plays a role in every single person's life, whether they understand it or not. So I do believe in the Constitution. It should be upholded. But I do believe there are measures in place to make modifications, and to interpret the Constitution.
Thank you so much. Next.
All right. I like holding the microphone. Thank you. Um, I believe that the great American experiment that happened when our founding fathers created this document, the Constitution, the Articles, um, only works if we follow the guidelines that they gave us. I do believe that the Constitution can be changed because there's ways to change it. But if it wasn't for, there's a great quote from Martin Luther King. It says, "The arc of justice bends towards time." And what that means is that it's slow process, but it works. He understood that. I understand it. A lot of people understand it. A lot of the youth understand it. And what does that mean? If it wasn't for the amendment process, some people would still be considered property or two-thirds of a human. If it wasn't for the amendment process, women wouldn't have the right to vote either. So I believe that you can't look at the Constitution as linear, because if you do, you might have an issue with that. Well, you can't, there's people that argue, oh, I want to go back to the way things were. My dad says it all the time. That's great. Impossible. Pandora's out of the box. You can't put her back in the box. You have to learn how to adapt to the environment, and that's what the election process is for, and the citizens are for, to guide the country in the direction that it needs to go. So I firmly believe in the Constitution. I believe in my own personal unalienable rights that were God-given, that were given to me, and you're going to have to really fight me to take them away, and that I agree with. But as far as it being changed, it's in the rules. You can do it. And if it wasn't for that change, a lot of us wouldn't even be here right now, myself included. So that's some food for thought.
Very good. Thank you. Next.
And I guess I agree with most people here. But I do corporate strategy. And so when I think about the Constitution, I really think about it as, yes, this powerful living document that our founding fathers put together to guide us and to set the rule of law. But such as all guiding principles, we have to understand when it was written and what is happening now. And again, just as CJ mentioned, because of that amendment process, a lot of us have the right to vote. I have the right to be here as the president of the political party because of the amendment process of the Constitution. And understanding, just like a strategy for all of your businesses, you have to revisit it. You have to revisit your guiding principles and say, hey, is this still really applicable to the growth of our company, or in this case, to the growth of our nation?
Hold the mic. We're starting with you. What what is your ideal or opinion on the effect of media when it comes to politics? If we were to speak about Florida, we have now woke legislation. What are your thoughts on legislation from woke or being woke?
Gotcha. So that's two questions, but so I will talk first on the definition of woke. And actually, I found an amazing definition that it was a legal definition that Ron DeSantis' attorney used for the lawsuit. They had to legally define woke. And so I looked it up and I said, well, what is the definition that they gave to woke? And so I'm going to read it and I'm going to give some examples. But I want to apologize if when you hear it, you actually find yourself identifying as woke. So. The definition, again, the definition that the Ron DeSantis attorney, Ryan Newman, gave was that woke is the belief that there are systemic injustices in American society and they need to be addressed. That is quote by quote what they wrote. The belief that there are systemic injustices in America that needs to be addressed. Now, if you think that the increase of homeless veterans in Manatee County of 102 in the last year is a systemic injustice that needs to be addressed, you might be woke. The fact that fresh food is more expensive than canned food, which canned food is making us sick, if you think that that is a systemic injustice that we need to address, then you also might be woke. And so to address the area of the media, there's keywords, and both medias do it. I don't even watch the news anymore. I just read it. I choose what I read. But the media has a way of grabbing these terms and repeating them and associating them with other things to draft legislation and to get public approval for legislation. And from somebody who, I'm finishing my PhD in public administration, that is part of the process of the history of America. We use the media to help drive these thoughts and these words and to drive ideals to get people to agree with us.
Thank you so much. Marcus, answer the same question for me, please.
So the media has a large role to play in the way that we see society kind of fighting the left versus the right. There's a lot of, there's fist being thrown in some areas. It's very dangerous. But the founding fathers saw this happening. We talked about factionism in the 10th article, the 10th article of the Federalist Papers. But I think you really got to watch out for deceptive words. How people they'll smile to your face and they'll tell you one thing and then no offense, but he just said, "I will fight you to keep my inalienable rights." But then immediately afterwards, he just said, "But I'm willing to vote yours away." It comes back to, are my rights mine? He literally said he would go through the process to take the rights away, to make changes. And a lot of times what we're noticing whenever we're talking to Democrats, they're talking about the Second Amendment. They're talking about freedom of speech in a lot of cases. I just moved back from San Francisco, and I'm from the future, if you will, and it's dangerous. It's really dangerous. I know someone else talked about homeless vets, food being expensive. Those are effects of Democrat policies. I wouldn't call that systemically an issue. It's a policy issue. So it's understanding economics, understanding what is actually causing these issues, like the 2008 collapse, what caused that. There's a lot of people that still go to Hollywood for these issues where you could read a book, So it's very dangerous whenever we talk about these things and we blame everything on the system. It's basically an easy way of not really diving in deep and talking about what really caused these issues. So, rather than being woke, I offer you to be awake, okay?
Now, does anyone else want to answer that question before I move to the next question?
I was called out. I'd love to do that. The gentleman said, watch out for deceptive words, yet he twisted mine. So we'll start with that. And that's kind of a good media thing, you must have a radio show or podcast or something. How many of you guys remember the fireside chats? Media has always been used as a means of communication. Now, the problem is we now live in a more technologically advanced society where we get to pick and choose. We can get in an echo chamber and surround ourselves by a bunch of yes people or like-minded people, which is great. But it is also creating an effect where we don't have something like this a lot, where we can have a lively discussion about things that we may agree or disagree with. And news used to travel much slower. Now news is instant. Something happens in Tokyo and we hear about it minutes later, whether someone tweeted it or posted it or something. So media has always been a means of communication. The problem is as with anything, people call it fake news, right? Well, in a lot of ways, we twist things, we say things a certain way. I never said I wanted to take anybody's rights away because, I believe in not being a hypocrite. So if I don't want somebody taking my rights away, why would I take anybody's rights away? I'm a true, when it comes to government, I do believe in limited government. Stay out my bedroom, stay away from my family. Don't tell me how to raise my kids. Don't tell me how to do any of that. The role of government is defined as it is in the Constitution, and that's about it. And that goes both ways. That goes both ways. It doesn't matter whether you're Republican or Democrat. Don't tell me what I should believe in, what I shouldn't believe in. We pay our taxes. We need good roads. We need good infrastructure. Focus on what the government is there to do. And that's really what it should be about. Now, she was talking about monikers in media, woke or fake news and all this other stuff. And those are great marketing strategies that are employed to move the masses. And media, and that's kind of the point of it. Because politics is a game. politics and governing are two completely different things. The scary part is when people are still running for office, but they're governing now. You won, do your job, but it's very, especially at a local level, the most important thing is to know, to define that, to know that, okay, you won your race, great, now get to work. You know what I mean? So there's two completely, in my opinion, those are two completely different things.
Thank you.
And woke is just a term. Back then it was you're hip, or you're open-minded, or you're whatever, okay? It's just progress is that's the definition. People were considered woke when somebody had the idea of women voting. People were considered woke when someone said, hey, maybe all humans should be equal. That was a woke idea back then. So those things can be debated, but I don't believe that anybody's rights should be taken away. I'm a strong believer in the First Amendment. That's why I'm here. Second Amendment, Third Amendment, all 10, the Bill of Rights, every single one. But I also respect the political process, and I respect the process the Constitution has laid out, that if enough of the American people agree or see a certain way, then so be it. And if not, then I'll start, we'll start having these meetings and convincing them. That's the idea. That's the beauty of the American, this
Thank
system that we
you,
have. So
Caesar.
I could go on
You
forever.
so hold on. I got to get to my next question. You could take it. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Go ahead, because you haven't answered the question, Grace. But the next question is going to start with you anyway. So
Oh,
you,
yay.
but you
This
can.
is Sonia.
But if you respond, keep it short for me so I can move on.
I
Okay.
will.
Thank you so much.
And that's why I think more people are being attracted to that, to register as NPAs, because they're sick and tired of hearing keywords and jargon from both sides. And I mean, Governor DeSantis uses the word woke as well, not for it, but against it. And you have media using the term woke. So, and back to the media, there's checks and balances on that, though. I mean, you just saw Fox News getting sued. So, I mean, it goes back to the argument about the Constitution and why the Constitution is so important, and how the amendments do give citizens everyday rights to challenge media and all that.
You got 30 seconds, Marcus.
If I could, I'd just like to give him some of my time. I said that he was willing to vote away my inalienable rights. The Second Amendment literally says, shall not be infringed. If anything is inalienable, that is one of them. So I just want to give him some of my time if he wants to respond specifically to that.
No.
I'd never want to do that, man, ever. I don't want it done to me. I believe do unto others. And well, trust me, I would never do that or
Thank
believe
you.
that at all.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. I love the energy. Like, this is so impressive. I'm very impressed. Grace, you kind of covered this when you were speaking earlier. In the view of Anheuser, Bush, and Disney situations, should corporations take a public stand on social issues?
I don't care. Like, to be honest, like, I don't care if people have the right to boycott a product if they want. A company, I think, has a right to say what they want. But, I mean, you see the argument. I was reading an article today about why DeSantis doesn't believe Disney should necessarily get involved with politics, and it's about corporate responsibility and all that kind of stuff. But, I mean, personally, if I don't like what a company is doing, I don't have to make a big deal about it. I mean, I don't know. To me, I don't care what a company does, to be personally honest.
Okay, anyone else want to answer that? You got microphones. You guys have microphones too.
Yeah, I also believe in businesses' rights to create their own culture and to support policies that support the cultures that they have created with their employees, whether I agree with them or not. And I just don't work for the ones that the culture doesn't agree with my belief system.
Nathan?
So yeah, I work for Publix, and we can't even give it away. It's literally not moving at all. It was a really poor decision on there. It wasn't on our top sellers. We always were displaying it. It was moving, but since then it's not even moving.
Okay.
So I believe if you're a public company, or if you receive any kind of tax subsidies, I don't think that that's fair for you to speak out, because there's people's pensions who rely on you doing what you're legally responsible to do, which is you have a fiduciary responsibility to your investors. So I think that's pretty messed up that people's pensions that are tied into the market are getting hurt by this because of somebody who wanted to be an ideological, hero, and they'll maybe sell a book off of it and make money. But I don't know. But other than that, I mean, I think you're free to do whatever you want with your company. I just think that if there's blowback, there's blowback. But I don't know if Democrats are necessarily consistent about that, because I remember whenever a company wanted to do a documentary on Hillary Clinton, there was a huge lawsuit. I forget the name of it, but we understand that there's double standards sometimes.
I do marketing for a living. It's just marketing. That's all it is. There's a lot of studies. They do a lot of their market research. You don't think they already did the numbers knowing X, Y, Z and everything? They hire professionals to do that stuff. So yes, it pissed off some people. Okay, that's fine. Those margins are already taken into account. Now, what I believe is the government doesn't need to tell a company what to do. And if they're receiving some type of tax subsidies or whatever, take them away for everybody. Why even have them in the first place? Just take them away.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's what is the government doing? It's like just like the bank bailouts or whatever, all this other big health. Take them away. You don't like it? Okay, whatever. And I mean, there's people, and I mean, look, I'm unhappy with the Obama administration because he failed on a lot of promises that he made to the Latino community. And I got a lot of flack from the Democrats when I said that out openly, because they're like, why, I don't care. That's a single issue policy for me. It's the same thing. I believe the government should be limited on what they tell people to do and not do. Whether it's a public company, whether it's me as an individual, I don't care. Hands off. And if they're receiving some type of subsidies and it's not, take them away. You know what I mean? Oh, but that's going to collapse the economy. Well, whose fault is that? I mean, I'm sorry. When we elect people and big money comes in and they start spending buku dollars, there's no reason why a regular citizen like any of you has to raise $500,000 to run for a county commission. That's absurd. That's absurd. You should be able to run and people should be able to hear you, but we get overshadowed by big money. And that's in every stage of the game, whether you're Republican or a Democrat. You want to know something? Maybe things will get done once you take the money out of politics, and then we'll see what happens. I just say take it away. I'm sorry. I'm very passionate about that.
You're passionate. You're passionate. Um, Now, what Tiger Bay likes to do is, a lot of people think we are a Republican club. We're not a Republican club. We're not a Democratic club. Anytime we have panels, we try our best. We always have two sides. We have a for, against, and maybe someone in the middle at all times. So I want to make sure that's said because these are the panels that we like to do. This next question. Do you believe we would have a better political future if more young people voted and participated in politics? What can we do to encourage more young people to exercise the right to vote, whether they're voting for your party or just voting at all?
I'd like to take that. And so kind of outside of politics, I've always been a huge advocate for putting youth in places of leadership. A lot of times we want to get a youth intern and we just want them to run our social media because they're great at it. But that is not giving them any new skills. They're already running social media. So I think that we have to engage youth, not to do the filing and the copies and the getting coffees, because this is how they become disenchanted. We have to involve them in positions of leadership. We have to support them. The relationship with youth has to be both ways. It can't be come here and serve as our secretary and do this. We have to ask them what their goals are, what their inspirations are, and how can we support them and actually do it. And so if we want to get people involved in government, we need to, me as a president of the political party, do a better job at doing that with our youth, to empower them, not to just to use them. And I think that we should also do that within our local government. How can we, as local leaders, do programs that really empower youth. And I do know that we have amazing ones. I just graduated from Leadership Manatee, and it was absolutely amazing. But how do we multiply that to make it accessible to everybody?
Marcus or Nathan?
Sure. I believe that we should have a more informed voter base. As most people, if you're on the left versus right, it changes how you view America, whether we're a republic or a democracy. The founding fathers were very clear that we're a republic, but most people today don't understand the difference between those two. And that's a very substantive difference. So I believe that, I know one party is targeting 16-year-old voters, whereas to get to, right-wing positions, it takes a lot of research, a lot of information. So, my thing is I would like to help them. I think that we have a responsibility as people that, come before them to make it very easy for them to get all of that. There's a lot of reading that you have to do to get it all in one place. But no, I love that young people are getting involved. I just hope that they get informed before they vote.
Yes, something we're working on. We're developing a farm team. We want to develop and build new leaders of Manatee County to take this area to the next level. If we don't have new leaders coming up, it's not going to be good for our community. We're all about building, developing, and training new leaders for our community.
I think you got to go where they're at. I think you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. I think you have to have the idea of going to a place where maybe you've never gone before, because that's where they're going to be. I've always believed in going to people. And a big part of that is, and this is a debate that's happening at a state and national level, is our school systems. You know what I mean? The young gentleman was talking about educating. We are a democratic republic. Yes. What does that mean? So maybe we need better civics courses. Maybe we need to teach kids in high school how to do taxes. Maybe we have to focus on real life skills versus political ideologies on either side of the spectrum. Doesn't matter. So I believe we have to start them young. I have a friend here. He's Michael. He's up here at the front. He's a principal of Rogers Garden Elementary here. I went to visit his school. Beautiful children, beautiful school, and they need all the help that they can get. Cindy's a school board member. She understands this, but it's like, how many people are flooding there? They want to. You got to start teaching them young, and I'm not talking about ideologies. Giving them hope. The belief that they can be whoever they want to be when they grow up, that they don't have to be anything less than what they don't have to settle. That is the American dream. My father came here from Guatemala when he was 17 years old, and he has a very successful business now. He worked hard for that. That is the American dream, that he could raise 4 children in America, and they can all go off and do their thing. We're all professionals in our own ways, and be here and raise a family. That is the dream. That is the dream that happened when people came here on the Mayflower, when they came here from Europe. It doesn't matter what the dream's always been the same, but somehow we got lost in there. Somehow that hope, that message is somewhere in there that's got lost. So you want to reach the youth, you got to get to them where they're at. So that means learning how to use TikTok and Snapchat and Instagram. And I barely snap. I only watch the TikTok reels. I'm not into that stuff. But it's understanding how they think and listening to them. We have to stop thinking that just because their ideas are different, they're wrong. That's the future. We have to accept that this is the ideologies they have, and learn and educate. He said, we got to get to them. Yes, that is the job, I think, of the parties, is to educate their voters and on their topics and stuff like that, and that's
Thank you,
great. But what
Caesar.
about us as citizens, right? So, sorry,
So
go on forever.
now I'm going to get into my teacher mode. So I'm going to ask the question, and I only want a yes or a no. Because I will allow time for my members to come to the microphone and ask questions. So that's why I need you guys to answer yes or no, so you can get some questions from the audiences. The legislator just passed the 6-week law of abortion. Are you in support of it? Now, we know we have a diversified panel here, so I just need a yes or a no. Nathan?
Yes.
Yes.
You okay, Grace?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Hell no.
Do we need to bleep that? I'm just messing with you. So we also have had the bans on our school books to protect our kids from reading about sexual activity and different things, and also on, I don't want to quote the bill per se because I don't like doing things like that, but how do you support it? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
No.
Absolutely not.
No, you just need to finish with what you were doing at the last question. We got a thing going here.
PG, PG.
Next question. Is health care a right?
No.
No.
All these questions are so hard to answer with a yes or no.
I
That's why they
know.
do it.
This is speed round.
Yes.
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 Woo, good job, guys. Woo. Okay, now to my members. If you have a question, please come to the microphone. We will not be arguing today with our panelists. Please ask your question. Do not elaborate. Just please ask the question as respect to the panelists being able to answer your question. Okay? Jane.
Hi, I'm Jane Filesticker, and I'm a member. I have a question for each one of you. If you think about your immediate peer group of friends, what one issue is the most important issue that influences your voting choices?
Please be respectful of time. Thank you.
Wages and the price for education, because they both go hand in hand. You need an education, you need a master's or a doctorate to make more money, but it costs a lot to go to school and get those degrees.
Overall, just the cost of living and existing, of being.
I was going to say economic opportunity.
I think healthcare is one of those core issues because it addresses so much. It goes into philosophy and economics and ethics and bioethics. There's a lot that goes into it. Like one of the questions that we were just asked were, do we think that healthcare is a human right? And most people don't know how to answer that question because we haven't been taught. It comes from philosophy. There's a thing called a negative right and a positive right. The government was set up to respect your negative rights, not your positive rights. You can say that you have a positive right for anything. You do not want a government that ever enforces positive rights because then you end up down the path to socialism, communism. So just to give you a quick example, I have a right to life. As long as nobody stabs me, aggresses upon me, you're respecting my right. But I could say that I have a right to water or food or comedy, not to kill myself, right? So you can literally justify anything if you can say that healthcare is a human right. And what does that look like? Somebody has to be the doctor. Somebody has to go through training to get that. So there's a lot that comes with that when you say healthcare is a human right. I don't want to unpack it too much, but if you'd like me to, I will later on.
Inflation and high gas prices.
Thank you so much. Good job. Thank you so much. Yes, Nancy.
Sanders board member, I just changed my question based on a couple of answers. With regard to the high cost of education these days and student loans, I taught in a high school for gifted and also some other district schools where college was not always an option. How does your generation feel about the trades? We just recently started a scholarship for Tiger Bay, the Pat Glass Leadership Scholarship, and that particular scholarship is available for students going to college and to the trade schools. How do you feel about trade schools versus college?
I think we are very overschooled and undereducated on that topic, because I don't see anything as less than, more than, equal to. We're all different, one mind, one world, right? So some people are great and they're going to make a lot more money maybe than I ever will at a trade. And the same thing goes for going to university. It's not a one size fits all policy. I was at an event the other day. MTC was there. I was talking to the lady because there's a lot of people, a lot of kids I know. It's like, you know what? You need to diversify your options and know what's out there. So I don't think, I mean, I might be the youngest on the panel. We don't see that as a negative anymore. You know, we were taught for a long time, 4 year, 2 year, 4 year, whatever. But that's not the case anymore because Right now, the younger generation is going to go where the money's at. And the money's at sometimes in, whatever they're doing these days, selling on the internet or what. So, I mean, innovation, technology sprawls innovation, right? But there, and I know we have a huge employment gap in the trades and things like that. I mean, that's a question that runs deep to many other different factors. But at the end of the day, I think people will go where their money's at. And if the money's there, they're going to go. And I think maybe we're just undereducated on that subject matter, because I think that's a great thing to do. If you could get into a trade, why not? There's no difference.
Does anyone else want to answer that question?
I think schooling is a weaving out process, but it weaves out people who should be doing those jobs. Um, I think the I think the best education is seeing and then doing. So like I'm an attorney, right? I've been practicing for almost 7 years. Law school is 3 years. I learned more in my first month working for an attorney than I ever did in law school. And I think that's how it is in a lot of trades, a lot of professions. You learn by doing, but yet you have people that have to spend sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars to be in a certain profession. I think it limits people who really should be in those professions, honestly. But I think trades also, I was in a networking group and half the people in there were doing great with their trade businesses. I think it employs a lot of people, and I think there's not that stigma anymore, I think, with our generation, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah, and I also love the idea of trade school. I can't get my 15-year-old to get up to go to school on his own because he doesn't like it, so he's not motivated. But on Saturdays, he's up at 7 a.m. playing video games. So I think that trade schools is just amplifies the options that we have. He's really into cars and mechanics, and that's something that he enjoys. He doesn't enjoy school. I don't want to invest 50,000 plus in college if he doesn't like it. I'd rather him do something that he's going to enjoy. So I think trade school just really amplifies our options.
Next, please.
For trade schools, charter schools are very important. They need to be supported and not left behind.
Okay.
So I think, the whole debate between should we have trade schools versus college, I think it's a bit limiting, just because I think we have to go back to why are colleges so expensive? And that comes back to a policy question. That's an economics question. It's been researched very thoroughly. I can give you some books on it if anybody is curious about that. But it comes back to Democrats wanted to make it fair and easy. I'm not even joking. It's the very well researched field. But Democrats, when they made college very expensive for kids, I mean, it really screwed over the next generation. They can't have a family right now because they're taking on so much debt. It's not fair. We have a system where if you don't go to college, you're basically stuck in poverty for the rest of your life. It's disgusting. I believe if we had a free market school system, I think that you would find that schools would target where holes are in the market. Right now, I come from San Francisco. You can get a job with no college degree for $130,000 to $150,000. It takes you about 6 months to learn to become a software engineer. Most people don't even know that exists. It's disgusting. Schools would have to teach for the market. We have a shortage of between 9 million to 12 million engineers in this country. So schools would have graduated people without a need of going to college that would have targeted these areas. So a free market school system, it's a larger question in that regard. So I would say it's very important to understand why is it expensive, what are the perverse incentives, what is the economic principles behind that, and then also how do we fix it versus, so we're no longer talking about leaving some people behind and basically leaving them to the point where they're stuck having to learn a trade rather than getting a six-figure job right out of, I think you should be able to get it out of high school. I have a lot of friends that are, under 21 making $300,000+ a year. Most people do not know that's an opportunity, and that's because of the way that our school system is set up. We have very terrible incentives, and like I said, that comes back to an economic policy versus calling it systemic.
Next question, please.
Actually, I have one question for one of the panelists for Mr. Garcia. In your opening speech, you said that politics for good and for bad is what it is. My question to you, sir, is how much have you been involved in both the good and the bad?
I think all of us get labeled either or.
Caesar, before you answer that, can you keep it short as
Yes, ma'am.
possible?
I'll be
But
very
go ahead.
direct.
I know you need to answer that.
I've done a lot of things that some people don't believe in here. Obviously, in our yes or no round, we differentiate. But I mean, I stand by what I believe, and I believe in local politics, and that's where the foundation of our American system is. So there's some commissioners I disagree with, but that doesn't stop me from having a coffee with them. It's not a matter of whether, just because I disagree doesn't mean I don't like you. That's the problem sometimes, and we have to stop that. We have to learn how to communicate. So you said, how much have I been involved with, good or bad? I think it's based on what you believe is good and what you believe is bad, because it might be my good and it could be your bad.
Great answer. Next question.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming out here and speaking to us today. I'm Taha Sadiq, Sarasota County Young Republicans, and we spoke quite a bit about going where the young people are, like myself. What do you all do in each of your organizations to educate young voters, in particular on local issues that aren't necessarily capturing attention at the state and national levels?
I'm creating a Wikipedia-style website where you can learn about any issue. So whether it be gun violence, how did the founders feel about the Second Amendment, what guns existed back then. Whenever you hear people say it's an outdated document, it doesn't matter what the issue is. I'm trying to cover it all. So that way it makes it really easy for young people to come and learn about any issue. So whenever they hear somebody over here that says something outlandish, I want you to be able to get the facts of it.
Yes, we're just teaching everybody how it is to run a campaign, whether it's a petition drive to get qualified to get on the ballot. That entry fee is pretty expensive. We were able to help our secretary, Amanda Bauer, get qualified without having to pay the qualifying fee. Door knocking, just the basics, bread and butter of running a campaign.
Go ahead, Evelyn.
Yeah, we're
Grace?
doing similar things. We're running, actually, we want our young people to not work on campaigns. We want them to run for office. So we are training them, giving them advocacy opportunities, going with them to whether it's either county commission or state senate meetings, and learn about the policies and what is the process, and advocate for what they believe in, whether it is something that we share the value or not. We're still supporting them.
So I'm no longer part of a political party, so I don't necessarily have a tribe, I guess you can say, anymore. But I think one of the main things from my involvement with, Republican Party and other local organizations is to get involved within the community. I think that's really where you're gonna learn how to talk with people of different beliefs. I think that's where you're gonna see what the issues are in the counties. So although I'm not part of a political organization anymore, I think it's very important for younger people to get involved with the community, whether that's a charity organization or maybe even Tiger Bat.
Next question.
At Bold Voter, we believe in engagement through action. Sorry to interrupt you,
No, I'm
Xavier.
sorry, I didn't know you were answering.
What that means is that we actually, like last year, we had, COVID changed a lot of things. Things got crazy. But we had our first big block party. I used to be the kid who would have to go get the free backpack, and I remember how that made me feel growing up, and it didn't feel good. And so the idea of the block party was to have a party atmosphere where you just so happen to get some stuff for free. It was very successful. We had a lot of organizations from all over the place join us and support it because we support our children. And so that is some of the stuff that we do. And in doing so, we get those high schoolers, we get those kids, we get them to come and volunteer and stuff backpacks and learn that you don't have to have a lot to give something back. Sometimes all someone needs is your time or an ear, not necessarily money. So I believe in leading by example. So that's what we do. We show them how to engage, and hopefully that helps them create good habits for the future.
Next question, please.
Yeah, Jarvis Williams, private citizen. I happen to be involved in educating people about the Muslim Brotherhood and activities in the United States. But the question is, do you believe that American laws should be used in American courts?
So yes, I strongly believe that. I think that it's important for every country to have their own rules, rather than off-putting our ideas on something like the UN or the World Economic Forum or any of those international globalist organizations. I believe it's very important for American law to reign supreme in America. Exactly.
Yes, 100%. We are a nation of laws, and we should be practicing and following our laws, which we're not at the border.
yes, that's what the court system is for. I'm not an attorney, but I'm hoping, I know a few attorneys in the area, I'm hoping that's what you see on your day to day. And, the jury system is what makes the court system so beautiful, because it's a jury of your peers that gets to decide. I mean, it's just amazing the way that the founding fathers had so much foresight into what the future would look like, and maybe it's not the future they envisioned, but I think we're doing a hell of a job. We could do much better, but I hope that, yes, they should be, and I hope they are.
I just wondered if you are in agreement with the agenda of the World Economic Forum.
No, not at all. I think that's very dangerous. I know that this has been planned for a long time for our country, and that goes back to, subsidiarity, right? Like, we should have the say in where our national politics or local politics go, rather than a national, international organizations that are taking our money. They're taking our tax dollars in the billions and trillions, and they have a plan for us that is to make us poorer, less free, and it's bringing about an authoritarian society. It's very scary, and it's really worrisome that most Americans don't even know that it's happening.
No, the whole premise is silly.
No, 100% no. Unelected people have no right to decide what's right for us.
I agree, no.
Grace, do you need to answer that?
I'm in agreement.
Okay, good, good, good. So listen, respectfully to the Tiger Bay Club members and guests that came today, thank you so much for staying. I'm going to allow 15 seconds for each panelist to close out, starting with Caesar.
Thank you for coming. If I offended you, I'm not sorry for my beliefs, but I'm more than happy to discuss them with you. We're here. This is what it's for. I hope I get invited again. If not, I completely understand why. But thank you so much,
I would
Xtavia and Tiger
definitely
Bay.
invite you again. We would just have to talk about your time. But Evelyn, go ahead.
I also just want to say thank you for everybody for taking the time, and thank you, Xtavia, for putting a focus on millennials and Gen Xers and Gen Zs. There's a lot of belief systems around millennials and Gen Z, but I'm glad to see organizations taking an interest and really talking about our issues and how we are the future of politics.
Come become an NPA. Get out of the multi-level marketing of politics. Thanks.
Multi-level marketing. I like that.
As I said, I want to correct all misinformation. So I would like to remind you that earlier it was brought up slavery and the suffragettes. I would like to remind you that those were both right-wing movements. So the right for women to vote, that was a right-wing movement. Ending slavery was a right-wing laissez-faire capitalist movement, both in the British with Richard Bright and Richard Compton, and also in America. So those were laissez-faire capitalists versus socialists.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. I'd like to thank Manatee Tiger Bay. If we could do this again, I think it'd be great. We're 100% just for Manatee County to grow and prosper, and thanks everybody for coming out.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, you all, for coming out today. Please give our panelists a round of applause. Grace Reeves, attorney at law. Cesar Garcia, president, bold voter. Marcus Davenport, right-wing progressive. Nathan Knight, president of Manatee County Young Republicans. And Evelyn A., president, Democratic Party, Manatee County. Thank you all for joining us. Please go to ManateeTigerBay.org to be a member. Thank you to Bradenton Herald, METV for attending, and Temple News. You all have a great day.